G'day guys, welcome to another weekly developer update. Here we are, Joe, once again, delivering the news to the community on what's going on the development front. We've had quite an interesting week. Obviously, we've seen all the sort of ramifications of post-merge and everything that's happened on the difficulty front. So do you want to sort of talk about that?
Sure, it's been a crazy week. A lot of coffee, a lot of late nights. But, we do have EIP 37 coming together. When this started, we set up a community group on Ergo Forum. We've seen a lot of community engagements. There's been a lot of messaging, across all channels in terms of, potential solutions, discussions. That's good to see. It's an open ecosystem, right? Yeah. I think that sometimes, people forget what decentralization is all about, right? It's about distribution of power, distribution of ideas. And, if you want to come in and participate, I think that dropping your knowledge, your skill set, and contributing as a group is ultimately the best way forward, rather than looking to one person to say, fix it for me, right?
Yeah.
Because I understand everybody has different skill sets, but ultimately it's mind share. And then beyond that, we roll towards the aspect of governance, right? So we put together a kind of a surgical change to our existing differential adjustment. We ran a bunch of simulations. We open sourced the numbers. Then we go to implementation. So we'll be building a reference client that allows miners to vote. And we'll go through a governance period where miners will point their hash rate to pools. It's very similar to what we did with the IP 27, this time 37. And, we'll see what the community wants, right? And what the community wants, if they, vote to hard fork, they need to pass a 90% threshold. And in which case, we'll have to get to work in terms of setting a date, getting all the infrastructure in sync and putting that out, right? That's a little different than a lot of communities, I think, where, the average user or miner, just kind of hears this is the roadmap and then they're along for the ride, right?
Yeah.
Well, Ergo tries to be a little different, right? Take power yourself, hop into the ecosystem and, put your skills to work. You create value, right? It is proof of work, even beyond mining. Yeah, so I'm excited. I think that, it was certainly not the best situation, but, having a potential solution to plug in, within a week and passing it to miners, it's a pretty good turnaround. Pretty poor on the sleep front and high on the stress front, but sometimes that's life, man. What can you do?
Yeah, exactly. End of the day, it's crypto. It's 24/7, obviously operating throughout the world at any given time. It's just obviously sleep is bound to get rugged at some stage. But one thing I like to sort of say is thanks for everyone for joining and to continue to join into the discussions. We're holding multiple across different platforms. So by all means, jump in. We're holding on Telegram, Discord, the Ergo Forum, like you mentioned. So by all means, contribute to the conversation, because the collective mind share and solutions and ideas, etc., all contribute, because we are a decentralized ecosystem. So by all means, come in and have your say. You're going to be heard across anywhere. So just like to say that.
Yeah, I agree completely.
All right. Well, that's a bit of an overview of sort of what's going on in the ecosystem on the difficulty front. So let's jump into the development side. So kicking things off, we have Pragmaxim, if you want to take that one, mate.
Sure. So Pragmaxim is a node developer. He's working on a alternative Explorer build that he feels is going to be more optimized versus our current implementation. So it looks like he's dropped his news a little early. He's analyzing a spike querying part of the current Explorer, making it tested and resilient. He's building a Docker Compose deployment ready, but it depends on Maven artifacts, so he can't make the Docker images available yet. I know he's been putting in a lot of time and work. It's great to see. I'm excited to see what that Explorer build comes out like for good things.
Yeah, most definitely. Another instance or a different, is that a different type of Explorer? I know you got the link there, Ergo U Explorer. Is that something in addition?
Yeah, it's he's basically changing some of the backend, trying to make it more performant.
Oh, nice.
Make it more lightweight, customizable. It's a big question actually in crypto, in terms of like the distribution of the block explorer, right? Because you do have a lot of lightweight infrastructure that will end up making calls to explorers, and then you have to ask, okay, where is it hosted and how does that work? And a lot of the times, unfortunately, it just gets either centralized by the team or centralized by a exterior entity. Yeah. And so ultimately, having research development, lightweight builds, I think that could be huge in terms of distribution of that resource, which many users do interact with. They just don't know it.
Yeah, exactly. Another exciting update. We've got an update from Anon 2020S with the ErgoMixer. So 4.2.0 is out. So please update that. And just on the changelog, they've added a log rotation, added dynamic path for backups, fixed backup and restore problems, improved the structure of controllers, minor changes in deprecated functions, and just doing some more testing. Added the prune database service for hotmix and has fixed a bug for token mixing. And you can find the new version there on the GitHub link. And just regarding the UI update and adding stealth address support, had very hard time dealing with the WASM and the UI front-end changes. So a few days ago, they got a new front-end developer. So welcome to the ecosystem, and that will accelerate the process. And next up, we have greenhat.
All right, so greenhat is our head Sigma Rust developer. He's implemented a wallet rescan tool after the pool update. Actually, that was Tim L. Sorry, greenhat, I can't give you credit where it's not due. And ensured that contract parameter integrity, contract versus parameters were preserved in the org core. Looks like greenhat has fixed half a dozen discovered issues on Oracle Run after the bootstrap. He's digging into a error on multisig that was ran into in Sigma Rust. Next, he's going to return to open pull request and split it into wallet and node parts. And besides that, he's trying to figure out an architecture for ZK rollups using recursive ZK starks. Nice.
Always got something going on, and pretty significant there. Also looking into the ZK side of things for rollups. Moving on, we have Ladopixel and Ergo tutorials. So they have two new tutorials, video tutorials in Italian. So the translations are there. Can't read Italian, so you have to jump in there and check those out yourself. And there's a new translation section on the website, so follow that link.
All right, molto bene.
Take it away.
Next, we have MrStahlfelge. Looks like he's working on the wallet app, version 2.0.2217. It's published and distributed across all channels. The desktop token information screen and ErgoAuth has been implemented. With Android, balanced notifications implemented. Prepared a release version 2.1 with the features and Mosaik iOS for review. And it looks like in Mosaik, he added a responsive grid layout for the next version. Awesome.
Yeah. Continuing to churn out the updates. Next up, we have MHS Sam and the Rosen Bridge. So this is quite a significant update. So final tests are progressing as scheduled. No major issue happens during the next 3 to 4 days. The tests will be finalized, and they're just getting ready for a soft launch. So on the main nets with test tokens, that's both Ergo and Cardano main nets. The UI is almost ready. It's not fancy though, so they'll just be working on that and its connection to the backend and DAT connectors. And a lot of refractors and improvement potentials that have been discovered during the tests. However, the changes can be done with a soft launch while the soft launch is running. So it'd be good for the ecosystem, open it up and see some cross collaborations between different ecosystems and bridging of assets.
Yeah, I think by the time this comes out, we may have seen a soft launch. We'll see. I know it's in the pipeline. There's always the last minute stuff you got to handle in that case, but we may see it, by the time this comes out, it may come out next week. So keep your eyes there.
Most definitely. Cool. And next up we have QX.
All right. QX from ergoport.dev. He's building all kinds of bots all over the place, which are great to see. Looks like the bot will now report in a Telegram channel, ErgoPort channel, whenever one of the 32 tracked Ergo and Cardano coins dips or spikes more than 10% since the snapshot price taken at the beginning of the hour. So that's basically trade notification. If you have some assets you want to track, that gives you the ability to know when they move. It's kind of neat. For an example, if ErgoPad was 0.035 at the hourly snapshot at 3 p.m. and the price spikes to 0.04 at 3:45, the bot will check every 5 minutes and send a report to the Telegram channel that the price of ErgoPad has increased 14%. At 4 p.m., when another hourly snapshot takes place, the bot will stop reporting until a 10% difference occurs again. Similarly, if the same scenario occurs as above, but at 3:50 and the price is returned to 0.035 or within the 10% range, the bot will stop notifying. And it looks like there's been a submitted Ergo hack proposal, which is awesome. Happy to see participation. And as we build out, I know that Alex open sourced some code for decentralized trade bots.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty cool to have a open source kind of data feed if you want to make adjustments, once that is out. A lot of tools coming together that can be plugged together in a lot of neat ways.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, actually, because you can get your notification, set up the decentralized, the grid bots, I believe, tune them to that and let them do their business. Speaking of Alex, we've got an update from him first up with the node development. He's released a few versions, so 4.0.43, 0.44, and 0.5, with the improved bootstrapping, which is now excitingly smooth on his laptop, and different fixes and optimizations in the P2P layer. So he's preparing for 0.46, and at the time of this recording, I think that's been released also. So just a couple of fixes and optimizations on that one. He's assigned the issue 1822 to Apex Theory, and he's discussing difficulty readjustment. It's made a playground for the experiments like we touched on in the intro, and starting a final 5.0 review. And then on other matters, just reviewing the Dexy contracts and new mixing contracts with outsourcing.
Yep, and that was 921 for those of you that are curious. First thing was to build a playground to start testing.
And what are we, 4 days later? And
4 days later, we've been exercising on the playground for a while.
So next up we have PGR 456 and Sigmaverse.io.
Sigma Space.
Sigma Space, sorry. Yes, that's a new Explorer instance.
Yeah, Sigma Space. Looks like on the back end, they've installed the latest ergo-graphql. version 0.3.8, updated to latest chain grabber version, made some changes to their infrastructure and are planning future production infrastructure. Awesome. And looks like on the front end, they finished design and started implementing the UI, probably subject to change, was done in the best effort. And it looks like they have dropped a small sneak peek of the future UI, which is looking pretty clean.
Yeah, nice. Nice and simple, easy to navigate by the looks of things. Next up, we have Luivatra and Paideia. So it's finished data deserialization to translate the usual data types, arrays and tuples, and any nested variant to byte arrays to store in the AVL tree. Has adjusted staking contracts to use the new configuration setup. Is continuing work on governance setup, enjoying the flexibility of the AVL tree-based config. Launch of the DAO discussion portion of Paideia is still expected to launch soon, trademark. And ErgoPad, so almost completely independent from the Explorer now and switched over to their own servers, which seems to perform significantly better than running on AWS. It's nice to see.
Yeah.
And once again, on the Ergo difficulty, he used the difficulty adjustment code from the node to try and improve the predicted difficulty shown on the difficulty and epoch monitor that everyone's watching and refreshing relatively sort of consistently. So he's quickly hacked together a bit of messy code, but it does the job. So I think that's actually been implemented on by SES, I think, on the original code. So thank you very much for putting that together.
Yeah, it's good to have that. And Luivatra must be rich if he's got soon trademarked.
Exactly. Next up, we have Captain Nemo.
All right. So Nautilus looks like they've added custom backend support, added send all option on the send tab. Be careful with that send all option, everybody, especially when you're sending to exchanges. I'm going to say that even though it's not on the dev update, because, well, we've been over that hill before with Yoroi implementing the same feature at one point, and we had a lot of people burning a lot of stuff in exchange wallets. So, yeah, hit that at your own risk.
Yeah,
I'll just say that.
Tokens and assets going to the exchanges. That's the last thing we sort of want, people sort of losing that, especially now that the ecosystem's grown a lot since that last sort of issue that we saw. So yeah, by all means, make sure you're aware of what the transaction contains.
Yeah, it's good for UTXO compression, right? You build multiple UTXOs in a wallet and you want to send them to a single address. It's a great feature, but new users like red flag blinking lights. I'll make sure that there's a pop-up warning. Are you sure? Right?
Most definitely needed.
I'll talk to Nemo about that. Looks like they added a hide balances feature. They updated Sigma Rust to version 0.20.1 and added various small UI fixes on GraphQL. They fixed a deduplication issue with tokens, refactored the bootstrapping process, and looks like Cepher has been reviewing some PRs, and they're marching towards version 0.4.0. Oof, ate my tongue on that one.
You got it out eventually. So next up we have wmcclinton. It's a new developer into the ecosystem. I don't think we've seen an update from him himself or themselves. Or yeah, I assume it's a he, it's a Willie.
It's Willie from anetaBTC.
Exactly. So welcome. Thanks for joining. So just a little introduction. He's Willie, starting to post weekly dev updates here. So just finished their extended Ergo tool and Ergo Dex functionalities to the application server for Ergo transactions on their website interface, on their web interface. Started in-house testing on their Mint, Redeem, and Relay smart contracts. Continued preparation and deployment of their in-house testing of the full wrapping protocol pipeline. Finished unverified minting and redeeming smart contract pipeline. So created a series of test cases for smart contract protection scripts and continuing to testing cases on the Ergo Playground or SCSI. Started the development of the on-chain SPV verification smart contract with the new Ergo developer. So the final contract needed to complete their BTC relay and finish connecting the wrapping UI with the version 1 backend. Just waiting for the final smart contract updates and updated the roadmap 3.0 to be released within the next week or so. Thank you for that. Just a little comment here from Ilya from DAppStep. Not much to update, just trying to find some time to record the next part of the DAppStep course.
And we skipped Alex. He's pretty excited to start discussions about potential features, functionality, EIPs and 6.0, which start planning kind of the scalability aspect of the Ergo protocol. Yeah, I guess we got redirected away from that as the main focus, but it's something that everybody's looking forward to get back to because it definitely could create some nice improvements to the network.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a comment here from Aberg from Saturgo. So 6.0, we haven't even got 5.0 yet, but that's been in development for longer than 12 months now. So as Kushti says there, better to start planning in advance because obviously there's a lot of thought and development and everything else that goes along the lines of sort of implementing a major update like this.
Yeah, that's not something that we'll see tomorrow, but it's good to, get the mind share together in the ecosystem and start marching towards that goal.
Most definitely. So next up, we have LowKeyNerd with BlitzTCG.
Sure, it looks like they have a lot of heads down to work on the dev side and focusing on completing the 170 different card characters that they've designed to be released. It looks like the new track album is almost complete, which is pretty exciting. And he's coming to Las Vegas. There's going to be an event called CNFTCon where Ergo and our ecosystem is going to get a little bit of representation. I think that's pretty cool that they're making their own music for the dev. That's like a little extra effort that shows me something cool, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one thing that I'm really looking forward to actually for the ecosystem because the amount of time and effort that's been put into this, and they haven't gone out and sort of crowdfunded and everything. Like they just build first. I think that sort of ties into the Ergo ethos and some of the artwork and the music they're putting out there. It's pretty crazy.
Pretty high level is what I would call it.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on, we have scalahub. So mostly been working on design of the outsourceable mixing idea with Alex and the Dexy contract documentation. There's already 2 EIPs, one for adding depth instruction and another for token burning during the rent collection. Just in regards to 6.0 discussions. And the first, not an ERP right now, but it's just an issue in the GitHub in regards to the ERPs that he's just spoken about. Next up, we have MGpai and ErgoSapiens.
Sure. So it looks like ErgoSapiens is working on serialization and deserialization methods for version 2 NFTs. They've provided V2 NFT example by Anon Real. With Comet, the ticket purchase contract is successful. The collection pool contract is successful and working on testing the lottery winner contract. So looks like some degenerates out there are going to get a Comet-based lottery. Good luck. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and I believe the ticket is one of those hairless chow chow NFTs. So they're quite a unique looking NFT, that one. Next up, we have hailypdll with Blob's Topia. So they finished an upgradable weapon feature for the blobs, and the contract and the most of the code for the PvE event are written and testing has started. That looks fun. I'll have to jump into that. I haven't done it yet. I keep saying it, but yeah, I'll have to jump in and have a look. Next up, we have Morphic.
All right, so it looks like Morphic is working on Sigma. He's cross-compiling the current Sigma app kit into Java, which is kind of our path to create a parallel toolkit that will allow JavaScript developers, basically parallel power to the app kit, which will lower the barrier of entry, I think, quite a bit. Bring on a lot of new potential developers into the ecosystem. Looks like he's the Blake to be digest successfully cross-compiled from Bouncy Castle Java library, published as npm module, and then consumed from scala.js. Problem solved with cross-compiling java.security.secure_random to JavaScript. He's done analysis and fixed a problem with bool to Sigma prop on some historical transaction under 5.0. Looks like on the Ergo side, he reviewed candidates for 4.0.43 and related PRs. Miscellaneous discussions in Discord and various reviews of ecosystem projects. Next up is to continue to work on Sigma.js, which is the cross compilation from Sigma to our with Scala.js.
Yep. I think that's great, all that developer tooling, just breaking down the barriers for anyone sort of entering the ecosystem. I think that's opens up a lot of channels for developers.
Mm-hmm.
A nice little comment here for the developers, just calling them all geniuses. And next up we have ErgoDesign with ErgoCube or ergcube. So the website's up and running for mobile and desktop users with basic information and videos. It's not fully optimized for a beginner, but the basic information's there to start with. Things in consideration for the upcoming weeks are focusing on their own video tutorials, not from YouTube, and has requested Ergo tutorials to provide some short videos. I think it's a great resource. So basically what ergocube does is it's sort of it's like a scraper, I'd sort of say. It just brings all the Ergo content from YouTube or podcasts and infographics, tutorials, articles, bits and pieces like that into one sort of website to have all those resources at your disposal. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like a one-stop shop for everything that's happening.
Yep.
Pretty neat to see.
Yep. Next up, we have Cheese Enthusiast.
All right, so GitBlock has continued to work on some small bug fixes on that side. Looks like in terms of layer 2 solutions, he's submitted a hackathon proposal. Still researching into the viability of share-proof algorithm that he's came up with, and started the initial work on collateral contract design for pools, which is pretty cool to see. Looking forward to all of that.
Yeah, definitely. He's got a comment here also in regards to the 6.0 discussion. So Merkle trees and proofs would be nice. He'd think that would be a nice addition, along with improvements to the Ergo script outside of costing. So next up we have Spectrum. So I'll just jump into that one quickly. So on the spectrum.dex side, on the core, the liquidity mining, yield farming contracts on ErgoScript are done. The JavaScript SDK for liquidity mining is in progress. On the back end, in the repo that you can see linked, you can observe the SQL requests on how they will extract data from the Ergo blockchain. This data will be used for rewarding historical participants with the SPF token, when it will be launched. So details soon, including a community review on the Spectrum Labs Twitter. So keep an eye out for that. On the front end, the next release you may expect pending transaction indicators being moved to transaction history button, new body font styles, and ErgoPay support. That's awesome. Also working on the Cardano testnet launch. There's still some minor fixes and issues to fix up. And the user interface for the liquidity mining, so yield farming on Ergo is almost done, but just need to battle test it. And secret UI for the token launch is done, so watch this space. Another soon. So jumping back into Discord, we have our final update from Excel.
Sure. So Excel looks like the backend SLT loans V1 deployed and running. Loans can be started via APIs now, technically. The front end is being built. The back end will be doing some cleanup in code and start working on lenders pools that minimizes lenders risk when funding loans by allowing crowdfunding. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Another great update. Always varied in the Ergo side of things. So I just like the variant in regards to the sort of the developments we see. Obviously, we go through the core side of things, but then we've got bots, got Dex, numerous sort of projects providing updates. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a decentralized community, and having everyone bring their skill set to the table is really amazing. And then when you get like the user side that say, hey, why don't we plug this in with this, and that, kind of start building things together. That's amazing. My favorite part of the Ergo ecosystem has always been the open source nature of development and the community in the background that collaborates. That's something that is very unique in this industry, I would say. But ultimately, it creates mind share and just helps the entire ecosystem grow.
Yeah, exactly. And just on that, we've got the Ergo hack coming up. Just another reminder. So we heard a couple of participants there writing proposals. If you have any ideas, if you want to sort of jump into the idea incubator Discord, there's some ongoing discussions. Or if you're sort of looking for a team, you might have an idea, but you're not a developer or something like along those lines, jump into that channel also. The topic is mining and minting at this stage, but that doesn't sort of limit everything just to that subject itself. You can jump into any DeFi or tooling, tutorials, anything that would sort of benefit the community. Anything sort of is welcome. So by all means, jump onto ergohack.io for an overview and make a submission if you do seem fit.
Yeah, I would encourage people that don't even have development experience to hop on, because there's a lot you can do, right? Yeah. One thing that we've seen in the past, I'll use Raffle as an example. They came out with kind of visuals of how their smart contracts work, right? And that takes an artist. A lot of people have done documentation. That might take an editor. So even if you're not, let's say that well-versed in development, but you have other skills you can bring to the table, feel free to contribute. It's an open ecosystem. We're happy to have you.
Yeah, exactly. Very well said. All right, so I think that sort of sums up this weekly developer update. Joe, it's been a pleasure running through it with you once again. And everyone, thanks for tuning in.